you know how grim and dim these times are.
Right now.
My God. Not just on television with that vicious genocidal attack on our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters, but it's everywhere you look. In the Congo, Guatemala, south side of Chicago, south central Los Angeles,
That's right.
East Los Angeles, indigenous peoples reservations, Iran, Iraq, everywhere you look, you see overwhelming human suffering. And it seems to me it's very important. We were telling the young people this yesterday. We had a long dialogue with young people yesterday there at the Quantum Clinic. And Brother Stanley knows what I'm talking about. This is one of the highest quality brothers I've met in the last 25 years. Professor, distinguished Professor Pepperdine, and Pastor, what's the name of the church?
Normally Church of Christ.
Normally Church of Christ. Indeed, indeed. We got some brothers from the Church of Christ. Is that right?
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Absolutely. But the important thing is we begin with the fight back. You see, you don't want to start with the Goliath-like conditions where you get overwhelmed and paralyzed.
That's right.
You want to begin with the fight back, and fight back is those who have the courage, those who are willing to stay in motion, to be what John Coltrane called a force for good. And you can never do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be in solidarity. You must never, ever allow any oppressed people, any hated people, any terrorized people, any traumatized people to feel as if they're in the world all by themselves. That's precisely the moment where you raise your voice even higher and you straighten your back even better to be in deep solidarity. And so, for me, before I even think about electoral politics for me is always just a vessel and a vehicle for a larger calling.
Right now. That's right.
That's crucial. When I look at these precious, precious threesome here, ooh, look at the sparkle in their eyes with the smile. That's something bigger than me and grander than me, and leads me and lures me to try to be the best that I can be and tell the truth and try to seek the justice more courageously. Why? Because there once was a time when I was the same age. I am who I am because somebody loved me.
Amen.
Somebody cared for me. Somebody tended to me. Just like your precious parents. I had parents too. Irene B. West, Clifton West. I mention them in every speech because I cannot conceive of myself without the quality of their love, what they poured into me, and then connected me to Shiloh Baptist Church, Reverend Willie P. Cook, the Deacon Hinton, and Sarah Ray, and the others. With Martin Luther King's legacy and Fannie Lou Hamer's legacy went through that choir, and Sly Stone was playing on the organ every fifth Sunday from Vallejo. It was part of the Northern California Mass Choir. That's my tradition. That's where I come from.
That's right. That's right. We can tell.
That's where I come from. You can't have fight back if you don't have any sense of what constitutes the win behind your back. You're never an isolated atom, some isolated nomad. You are an extension and a product of a great community and tradition wherever you come from.
That's right.
And all the beautiful different faces here, I don't care what color, gender, sexual orientation, national identity, you're still a featherless, two-legged, linguistically conscious creature born between urine and feces. You're still a human being. And that's where we make the deep connection. And part of the problem of the politics in America, it's just amazing when you look at all the creative, imaginative, magnificent human beings in the empire. Then you look up at the politicians. There's a key sweat moment. Something just ain't right. What happened? A hemorrhage, a blockage set in. Mendacity, mediocrity, tied to Wall Street, tied to war machines, tied to Silicon Valley, organized greed, institutionalized indifference. The great rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel used to say, what? Indifference, the evil's more insidious than evil itself. Thank you, Brother Rabbi Heschel, for that profound insight. Edward Said, the Palestinian towering figure, he agrees with that insight.
Right.
Malcolm X, and I don't have a language for Malcolm, and Malcolm's Muslim and I'm Christian. I don't exist without Malcolm X. I'm for truth no matter who's for it. I'm for justice no matter who promotes it. I am a human being, a Muslim and a black man, and we can say a free black man. Yes, that's what we loved about Malcolm. I know a lot of white brothers who say, well, you know, it took Malcolm a while to really like white folks. It's true, Malcolm was wrong. He was wrong. You know our vanilla brothers and sisters are not devils. He was just keeping track of your devilish behavior. And everybody got devilish behavior. But Malcolm started by loving and unloved people. Black people. Then it spilled over, but when it spilled over, he meant it. That's what's beautiful about it. He said what he meant and he meant what he said. So when you talk about electoral politics, you have to allow the tradition that produces free folk, that produces love warriors and freedom fighters and wounded healers and joy spreaders to spill over into politics. And that is as rare in American politics as a black man or woman in the National Hockey League. Ain't got nothing against hockey, but it's a vanilla thing, though, isn't it? Ain't got nothing against it, but it's a vanilla thing. It's like the NBA is a chocolate thing, you know what I mean? Hey, let's just be honest, all human beings working it out. Very, very true. And so for me, as I begin by situating and locating myself, the same tradition that produced my dear sister Moody, the best of Howard University, Toni Morrison's and the Amira Barakis and others, and Sterling Brown's and others. Same tradition. Never exclusive, never demeaning or degrading others, but just making sure that I'm pulling out the best of my R-O-O-T-S, my roots.
That's
So that then my R-O-U-T-E-S, the routes that I take, can allow me to be in solidarity with struggles in Brazil, in Guatemala, in Uganda with our gay brothers and sisters, with Jews mistreated in France and Russia. It's a moral and a spiritual stance. So when you then speak out in an issue like Gaza, you have a backbone. You're not looking at whether somebody agrees or disagrees with you, or whether somehow you won't get any money from an organization, or somehow you're not going to gain access to some mainstream institution. No, I come from a tradition in which I'm told to live in the world, but not of the world. But integrity is not popularity. Well, how you going to win for president? Because every once in a while, when things get so bad, when the lies become so thick, and the mendacity becomes so ubiquitous that things are collapsing and everybody has the blues, the whole planet has the blues because it may go under, and lo and behold, here come the best of a blues people. They say we on intimate terms with catastrophe. It ain't new for us.
Right.
We on intimate terms with being terrorized and traumatized and lied about and misunderstood and misconstrued and told we less than human. We on intimate terms with being pushed against the wall, and then you get Stevie Wonder singing Love with the Need of Love. Or John Coltrane's Love Supreme. James Baldwin's Love So Essay. Martin Luther King Jr. Love So Life and Death. Oh, what a people.
What a
At our best. It's only at our best. Because we got a rich history of black gangsters and black thugs and black cowards. I could talk about some of the black cowards in elected office, but it's too, I don't have enough time.
Yes, you do.
I ain't got enough time tonight. No. And I'll try to be a revolutionary Christian, so I'll try to love everybody. But I tell the truth.
Yeah, you can love them, but still call them out.
When you're loving, you got to call them out.
Yeah.
If you don't call them out, you're not loving them deep enough.
Bring it. Call them out.
That's why it's rare. You could have 550 Palestinian babies killed in the summer of 2014 and not have one politician of any color say a mumbling word. And then just these 9 years later, you got 5,000 precious Palestinian children and still can hardly get a politician. The most they can call for is a ceasefire.
Right.
It takes about as much courage to call for a ceasefire than it does for me to be a member of the LA ballet team tonight. In the face of genocide, all you can call for is a ceasefire, and most of them calling for a pause? Come on.
Come on now.
Now, I believe a war crime is a war crime. Anytime you kill innocent folk, I'm against that.
Right.
I'm not giving that up.
Right.
But I know the history of occupation. I know the history of domination. I know the history of apartheid.
Woo.
And even folk who are apartheid, they still need to have moral standards and spiritual standards. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But at the same time, if you erase and downplay and push to invisibility that history, then all you're concerned about is U.S. foreign policy in the abstract. You end up with a choice between a right-wing neo-fascist gangster, a Pied Piper. That's Brother Trump. That's what he is. He's been a gangster for 45 years, so he's good at it. And he's leading for Civil War number 2. And then here comes Biden. Milquetoast. Mediocre. Pushing toward World War III. What a choice. Civil War II, World War III. What we gonna do for the precious children? The least we can do. This is where you get beyond language. That provide concrete, fleshified examples so they can see persons, individuals, institutions, movements, figures that enact an integrity and honesty of vision, and most importantly, service. Somewhere I read, he or she is greatest among you. Yeah. He or she who serves the least of these.
That's right.
Oh, that's my tradition. It comes out of Hebrew scripture, spreading that hesed, that steadfast love and loving kindness to the orphan and the widow and the landless and the motherless and the fatherless and the persecuted and the subjugated and the oppressed. That's just not words. Those are lives to live. And it has to be concretized in example. And that's what we don't have enough of. And we've reached a point now where the organized greed and institutionalized hatred and routinized indifference is leading toward the self-destructiveness in the species that could call the planet into question. Democratic experiments into question. And on a very deep, personal, invisible, but psychological level, it begins to undercut our very capacity to love each other.
Yeah.
The most
That's what Hamlet suffered from, Shakespeare's great character. The inability to love. The great Dostoevsky used to say, hell is those who suffer from the inability to love. One of the reasons why we have levels of sociopathic behavior in so much of our ruling class Because they haven't taken time to cultivate the capacity for compassion and love. It's all about power, 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 domination, 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 manipulation, manipulation, manipulation. And he or she who wins is he or she who has the most material toys and the biggest money.
Come on now.
How spiritually obscene can you get?
Come on with it.
How morally vacuous can you be? And that's what our young folk need to push back against. Because all they see is success, success. You running for office. Are you going to be successful? I don't know, but I want to hold on to moral and spiritual greatness, which means I want to tell the truth. And the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak.
Come on now.
And if you're not listening to the suffering, there's a good chance that your truth talk is truncated. Doesn't go far enough. And of course, we know this is true in our individual lives, isn't it?
All right.
If you are unwilling to tell the truth about yourself, there's a good chance you living a lie.
Yeah.
Woo! Come on with it.
I don't want to get too personal. I'm not talking about nobody here, but somebody out here in Baldwin Hills needs to hear this now. But it has everything to do with politics, because politics is about public things. And we've lived in a time where everything is privatized. And when it's privatized, it's militarized. And when it's militarized, it becomes a matter of just zero-sum game. My death over your life over my death, my riches over your not having riches. What about public things? Things that we need to share, like food, water, clean food and water, ecological catastrophe, like quality education, quality health care, quality community, privatized real estate, gentrification, all about money, money, money. I saw the leaven of the loaf. I saw the salt of the earth today with my brothers and sisters there in Skid Row. Didn't we see it, brother?
Yes.
Wasn't it a beautiful thing, though?
It was. It was reinvigorating.
It was reinvigorating.
It was. And it reminded us of what our calling is.
Yes.
And what your calling is, to make sure that there is no Skid Row.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And that's one of the reasons why I've got a long platform I won't go into. You can go on the internet. But I come out of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. As I told you, what did Martin Luther King Jr. call for? The abolition of poverty. He don't want no neoliberal version, conservative, neoconservative. No, we want the abolition of poverty, and we can do it by disinvesting in the military and investing in job quality education, health care for all, free education. I want to be head of the American empire in order to dismantle that empire. Oh yeah, that's what I'm about. That's what I'm about. That's my calling is truth and justice. Not just to win the next election.
All right now.
America ought to be a dignified and decent nation among nations. We don't need to have 800 military units around the world. We don't need to have special operations in over 100 countries. We don't need total domination spectrum in every nook and cranny of the globe to be the greatest empire in the history of the world. No, that's just the mightiest. I want it to be great in terms of its moral and spiritual quality, where democracy can flourish such that there will be no poor people at all. And I've told my beloved wife on many occasions, I say, when I win the White House. When I win the White House. I'm not going in until everybody has a home and a house. By example, bully pulpit, and by example, they can say, dang, this black man lost his mind. And I say, no, you don't understand the people who produce me. You don't understand the tradition from which I come. You don't understand who Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and A. Philip Randolph and Martin Luther King really were. And I'll never be 1/3 of the human beings they were, but I know what the standards are.
Right.
I know what the standards are, and I'll fall short. I'll try again, fell better, like my vanilla blues man Samuel Beckett used to say from Ireland. Try again, fail better but go down swinging. I added that little Duke Ellington thing too. Right? Don't mean a thing.
You feel
You
like
ain't got
that's
that
It ain't got that swing. Oh yes. So this candidacy about all the different kinds of justice, for workers' justice, justice for our precious trans, our precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters, for all human beings embraced by virtue of their rich humanity, giving them a dignity and a sanctity. A workers' justice. We need a strong trade union movement with a militant wing that goes beyond business unionism, that organizes to put pressure to bear to organize greed at the top. I'm glad to see what happened to the UAW. I salute them. I was blessed to be with them. Why? Because justice is indivisible. We've got to shatter our connection just to our little groups and tribes that make our larger humanistic embrace universal, even as we come out of particular traditions. Same is true with our ugly patriarchy. For me, it's not secondary or tertiary. We're talking about the vast majority of the world are sisters of different colors. And there's no way that we can muster all of the genius and talent of the species if patriarchal practices are still in place that downplay the capacity and the potential and the possibility of the genius and talent of the vast majority of human beings who are sisters of all colors. So, constituencies in that regard. I begin with a critique of empire, predatory capitalist processes, patriarchy, transphobia, homophobia, any ideology that loses sight of the humanity of people, but always a priority to the least of these. One of the things that we learned with the activists today, right here in Los Angeles, the fastest growing group of the unhoused and the houseless are the elderly and the children. Isn't that something? The stereotype, mentally dealing with mental health and substance abuse, about 28, 29%. Vast majority are those who have been pushed out because of the extreme wealth inequality and the catastrophe in their lives, usually medical, that pushed them out, and then the high prices with the gentrification that's been hitting every major city of the American empire, pushing folk out. So the challenge is what? Well, the challenge is this. I know I'm going on much too long. You all so kind. Oh, you're so kind. You really, really, really are. But it leaves us with we have to provide an alternative.
That's right.
The only way the status quo reproduces itself is to argue there is no alternative.
Right.
Over and over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why we love the poets and the musicians. Shelley says poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. What he was really saying was anybody who imagines an alternative world, a better world, and uses their empathy to generate solidarity can live a poetic life. So you can be a poet and never put word, pen to paper and write a word. A musician, same way. John Coltrane, November 1966. What did he do at Temple University in Philadelphia? He was playing one of those high notes and he took his horn and threw it on the ground and started beating his chest. And Rashid on the drum said, Train, what you doing? He said, Rashid, you know my music is always about trying to empower the people and be forces for good, and now my horn is getting in the way. That's my tradition. Improvisational. Anything that gets in the way of love, anything that gets in the way of justice, got to go.
All right.
Yes.
It's got to go. You got to be free enough, courageous enough, And most importantly, we're willing to live and yes, even die. Mary Ellen Pleasant used to say, the great black woman who was the godmother of civil rights in California, gave John Brown $600,000 in 1857. Still got a park named after her in San Francisco. Brother Danny Glover lived right around the corner from that park. She used to start every speech, I'd rather be a corpse than a coward. Ooh, that's Mary Ellen.
I'd rather be a corpse than a coward.
And Brother Martin used to say, I'd rather be dead than afraid. So the challenge is, do we have enough courage in the face of our fear, given the Goliath-like catastrophes, to recognize no matter how mighty they seem, they are not almighty and will never allow them to have the last word.
That's right.
That's the greatness of the black freedom tradition and the black musical tradition. Because the blues is all about looking at catastrophe unflinchingly and saying, you think you conquered me? I got a sound and a song for you that's going to push you back so far that I can straighten my back up, and with a smile and a style, I'm going to set the whole world on fire. Oh, what a potential! That's Billie Holiday singing Strange Fruit with the Jewish brother Leopold writing the lyrics. You thought that you could terrorize us? Listen to this song. And we're going to create enough space, enough solidarity that we'll come together and we'll break the back of American apartheid. Oh, yes. That brother Mahmoud Darwish, the great poet coming out of Palestine. I got some words for you with this index card. And you think that somehow you can terrorize and traumatize our folk? Watch us continually have our tremendous fight back. And that's B.B. King saying, nobody loves me but my mama, and she might be driving too. But how does he say it? So much style. A little help from Lucille. Echoes of Robert Johnson and Son House and Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey. That's a form of strength. That's what we need in our politics. That's what we need in our politicians. That's what we need in each and every one of us. So thank you all so very much for being here. We're going to play together. We're going to laugh together. We're going to love together. We're going to swing together. We might disagree, but we still going to have solidarity.